obviously, Feng Shui has become quite a big body of knowledge now, with different things coming in. And it's always a challenge to balance between knowledge and wisdom. So the thing about learning anything is we all start as novices, and we gradually progress through being proficient, competent to an expert. And that takes some time. Novices needs rule. And checklists are a very, very useful way of helping them to expand the knowledge and learn much, much faster. I've been using checklists to teach Feng Shui for a long, long time now, and I think it's one of the best tools to use. Start your own Feng Shui checklist. Start to see what's important, what's sort of repeated a lot in your practice, and start to share it with other consultants. So hopefully, as a Feng Shui society, we're going to develop the best checklist on this planet. And we're going to post it so people can learn from it. And in that way, we'll build this body of knowledge. But key points to remember, keep it short and simple, 6 to 9 points. Remember to pause, think about, reflect, and put it into practice.
Spirit release. I like to categorize it into 2 broad areas. Places, so we're dealing with spirit release in places. Generally the reasons are fairly easy to comprehend. You need a sort of level of intuitive awareness when you go into a space to sense, is there a spirit here? And with time you can develop that. People themselves might call you in. Certainly from my perspective, that's often what happens. You've got a disturbed energy here, can you come and help sort it out? But when you're dealing with a spirit in a place, as I will show you, you can begin to assess fairly readily why they're there, what's causing the situation. And in my experience, dealing with spirits in places is relatively easy to deal with. Occasionally there can be problems, but on the whole, it's fairly easy to move them on.
So we're going to talk about colour. And colour is a huge subject, as I discovered when I tried to squash it down into half an hour today. But what I want to start with today is how we all have our own individual story around colour. So if I was to mention a particular colour to you, I'm going to say out a couple of names of colours. I want you to kind of say back to me what's the first thing that pops into your head about that particular colour. So we all have our own cultural and experiential notions about colour, our own story. So as to say red, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Fire.
Fire.
Desire. Okay. I did have somebody one day say red Wellingtons. And that was all to do with a story that she had from her childhood about a favourite pair of red Wellingtons. And so when she saw red, she saw herself dancing in the puddles in her red Wellingtons. So you can see we all have our own story around colour.
Feng Shui really, for me, is the connections between heaven, humanity and earth. And so this time aspect to Feng Shui I find interesting. We can call it the heaven aspect. Human, in between, and the earth energy and the Feng Shui that we're all about here today. So how do you use these 9 stars? First of all, you've got to figure out who you are. Secondly, where you are. And thirdly, you could look at different directions you could move or travel in any given month, year, or day even. So 8 of those stars, 8 of the stars we'll look at today relate to trigrams, and 1 relates to that one in the middle. Do you remember the 5 Tai Chi star? That's really the central star around which everything rotates. And that's the center of the Pakwa or the Bagua. They also relate to elements. And again, we've touched on those. And the 8 of them, apart from, of course, the middle one, they relate to different compass directions as well.
Creating sacred space in your garden, a little secluded space where you can sit. Feng Shui actually seeks to do that, to look for ways to use foliage, texture, colour, and shape and form. Using plants, we can create it naturally, and we can make little havens of space. We can, there you go, we can use colour and pleasure, which bring great pleasure to actually sit and relax there and spend some time sharing space with friends without wanting to sort of rush off all the time.
So really, for me, a lot of what I love about Feng Shui is looking at the symbols of people's homes. William Morris said, and you've all heard, you know, the home really is the metaphor of the self. I love looking at the stories that are encapsulated in the way that people design their spaces, lay out their furniture, the colours they use, just everything, the artwork they have, everything is telling that client's story. For me, it's like going in and it's the same as being able to read someone's palm. Just look around, look in all the areas of the bagua and you think, yep, you can see it all. And dreams are the same thing. You know, as the external world represents the internal, so our deep internal represents the external. So we're working with the same language. Your language of your dreams is the language of symbol, metaphor, archetypes. A picture tells 1,000 words.
So looking a little bit more at Feng Shui consciousness, I felt it was important that we sort of looked at what the principles were that I was using when I was examining this. And a lot of those have been mentioned today already. The principles that of universal energy. You know, everything is energy. Everything in the universe is energy. And it's about an exchange of energy. Whether we're having a dinner and absorbing that through our digestive system, it's giving us energy. When we're planting the seed in the garden, we're having an exchange of energy. We're in that creative process. And actually there's an abundance of energy everywhere. It's there, available for us, all of the time. It's just we sometimes allow sort of a filter to come across us and no longer see it as being available for whatever reasons.
Finding the soul of the building. We all love success stories. Chelsea, a house, lady couldn't rent it. She had it on the market 3 or 4 months. Lovely place. Went to look at it. Why wasn't it renting? The house was seriously abused by the previous tenants. Not very nice things were going on in there by the people renting it. That house was in pain. It did not want to be rented out. So why should anyone come and rent it? The house does not want it. So she was then able to actually make a promise to that house and resolve the pain that it had been given by the previous people. And so I worked on that with her, long story how that was done, but essentially it was through the heart released, that love, compassion, and within an hour of being there, guess what happened? Not one agent, but 2 estate agents phoned up while I was still there, saying we want to bring someone round this afternoon, twice, and it was rented that afternoon.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to talk about this building, our body. And I'm going to talk about the much, much bigger building, the universe, and how we can tune this only thing that we own, our body, into all of the universal energies. Basically, my work is all about how to bring light into the body, and furthermore, that our body has the potential to create light. The body ought, in perfect balance, to be 80% water and 20% solids.
Whenever I'm looking at a building, first impressions are the most important thing. How do I feel as soon as I get to the building? Does it ever have a memorable feature? Next time you go to cafes, restaurants, any public building, a shop, is there something there that's going to stick in your memory? If there is, then the building of the business is working for itself. It becomes a talking point, and people will go around telling everyone about it. Or similarly, you could say, does the building have a kind of Feng Shui signature? Is there something about a building that helps you feel different? So again, have a look when you go into different cafes or all kinds of public buildings. How do you feel there? Is there something special about it?